What's going on, people? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys enjoyed the B&B show, or if you prefer, Talking Seahawks with the Hawks Nest. Me and him just wrapped up our stream a little bit ago. If you didn't catch it live, watch it on the VOD. It's on my channel. It's on the Hawks Nest channel. We talked about this upcoming Green Bay preseason game, talked about the way the team looks going into the final offseason stretch before we start getting real regular season games. So go check that out if you haven't already. But this video, we're going to be talking about a little thing, but not a no thing. This may not seem like a big deal because it's not, but it is part of the off season that tends to kick in a little bit at the very end of the preseason. After watching your team go through a couple exhibition games, after watching your team through weeks, I guess technically in some capacity, we're coming up on over a month of practice, if you include the earlier camps. You start to get an idea of what your team needs, and if you're watching other teams, you might start to get an idea of players that you might value. And we're not talking about stars, we're not talking about great players or even really good players. We're talking about those players that you think in your mind are just going to really bring things together, even if the player is nothing special. Yesterday, we saw three little trades in the NFL. There was a nose tackle that got traded for some very late draft capital. It was like a 6th round pick and I think a 7th round pick. Very, very cheap. But there were two other trades as well, and these are the two that caught my attention because they were trades for wide receivers. Now, these trades, none of them involved a really notable player. None of them involved a player that is anywhere even close to like star level. We're talking about some pretty low level players here. And none of these trades involved a likely top 100 pick, a day 2 pick, much less a day 1 pick, however you want to qualify it. But these trades happened. And the reason why these trades happen is because this is the time of year where football teams start to get a sense for what they are lacking, and they also get a sense for the players that they don't want to mess around with, and they want to make sure they get. And there's the opposite of that, where teams are also starting to get an idea of players that might be decent, but you don't really have a plan for using them. You're not really thinking this guy's part of what we're going to do this year and probably not going forward into future years, so what can we do? The answer is you trade the player. And like I said, there was a nose tackle trade yesterday, but we also had this. The Denver Broncos traded Devon Vele, or Vele. Search me on that one. But the point is, the Broncos traded Vele, let's go with the Vele because that's how it's spelled, to the New Orleans Saints. And this one was actually a little more substantial than a lot of these trades, but 4th round pick in this upcoming draft. So in the draft that takes place next year, 4th round pick, which is not nothing, and a 2027 7th round pick. Now that is basically the spare change that is rolling around inside of your glove compartment. I don't know if people keep changing their glove compartment. People don't keep change anywhere really anymore, but the point I'm trying to make is that this is the kind of thing that you see at this point in the offseason where this is a player that was probably going to get cut. If he wasn't going to get cut, he was probably going to get put into a box that would have been very hard for him to get out of during this season. The Broncos probably looked at him and went, we don't see a future for this guy on this team. We don't think he's going to play very much, maybe not even at all, and we're just not going to have him. But can we get something for him? And the answer in this case was yes. And this was not the only wide receiver trade that happened yesterday. We also had this one. The Chiefs traded a wide receiver, Skyy Moore, to the 49ers. Now, it was a very, very low-level trade. It was like Skyy Moore and a 2027 7th round pick for the Niners' 2027 6th round pick. So very, very minimal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here and acting like we need to make sure we secure that extra 2027 6th round pick. But this is the kind of stuff that happens. The Niners desperately need a wide receiver because of all these injuries, and now they've had a suspension. The Chiefs are done with Skyy Moore because he's not doing nothing that they like. I guess he did have the punt return on against the Seahawks last week, but even that wasn't enough to save him. And they're happy to get anything for him. And it's a similar story here. The Saints really want a wide receiver. Vele became available. The Broncos, like I said, probably looked at him and went, we don't have a plan for him. We don't have a role for him, so get what you can. And in this case, what they got was actually quite good. That fourth-round pick, that's a Saints fourth-round pick. That could end up being right close to the top 100. That could be like pick 102 or 103 very easily. And the interesting thing here, I'm not saying these are bad players. They're certainly not the players that you would think would fetch a trade. Vele, and we actually can learn how to pronounce his name right here, Devon Vele. So I got it right. Good for me. Now, last year, rookie season, he was pretty all right. Had almost 500 yards, 40 catches, 3 touchdowns, played 13 games. Not a super crowded wide receiver room in Denver last year, but he was competing with guys like Courtland Sutton. There were players like Marvin Mims in front of him. It wasn't like he got targeted 800 times last year. He got targeted a normal number of times. It was a good year. And then in the playoffs, you can see that when the rubber meets the road, there's not a lot that Broncos have for him. 2 targets, no catches. And look, that's all well and good. And he is somewhat young, but at the same time, he's not that young. He's going to turn 28 before the season's over. So he was an old rookie. He was a 26-year-old rookie, and he was a 7th-round pick. The fact that he was able to put up almost 500 yards with Sean Payton, that should not be indicative of a player that is really worth giving up much of anything for, but the Saints are like, hey, we really need this. And if a guy like Vele gets cut and he ends up on waivers or he ends up just a completely free player, then the issue is that you might not get him even if you go after him. What if he's like, I don't want to go to the Saints? Or what if some team outbids us monetarily in a way that we cannot match, cannot top? Things can happen if the player becomes a free agent. But if you make the trade, you kind of step in front of that and you don't have to worry about that competition. And Skyy Moore, I mean, I think you guys know what's up with Skyy Moore. I know that this is a much more talented player. This is a former 2nd-round pick. This is a player who hasn't turned 25 yet. He turns 25 right about the time the season starts. So he's younger and more talented than Vele. But we all know this is not a very good football player, right? This is a guy who you thought maybe there was something developing those first 2 years in Kansas City. He made a play or two when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I think he caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl, actually. There was a little something going on, but last year he literally did not catch a single pass. He only suited up 6 times. And we all saw him in that preseason game last week. I know he had the punt return, but there's clearly something that is just not clicking there. This is a bust. This is a player that is not coming even close to living up to his 2nd-round grade. This is basically a different flavor of a D. Eskridge. There's not really much of a difference here, and you still got something. And I know people might be wondering at this point, why am I talking about this? The reason why I'm talking about this is because this is an opportunity, this is a time, this is a potential window for the Seahawks to take advantage with a player like Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, a decent player. This is not a bad player. He's been reasonably productive in the NFL in his career. This is a guy who participated on a couple of Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl winning teams. This is a guy who is a proven deep threat. He's led the league in yards per catch in his career. He's never been a number 1 or even really a number 2, but he's been a meaningful part of some pretty good NFL offenses. He's been a meaningful part of some MVP level quarterback seasons from guys like Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes. And he's found a measure of success on multiple teams. This is a guy who is worth something. And as of right now, I don't know if the Seahawks think they have a role for him. I don't know if they're looking at him and thinking, yeah, we're going to get something meaningful out of MVS this year. They might be looking at him and going, Torrey Horton doing what he's doing. We like Bobo in this offense. Guy like Derek Young might be breaking out in his contract year. A guy like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, he's a skilled player, but we just don't think it makes sense to give reps to him when we have these other younger, more compelling, more upside-laden players. I've theorized, and many others have as well, that MVS will not make this team. And others theorize that he will make the team, but not really do anything. And if those are the options, if that's what you're looking at, maybe this is an opportunity to trade him. I know he's a little bit old. He's going to turn 31 in October. So we're talking about a player that has limited upside. In fact, you might even say no upside at this point, and is not really going to get any better at this point. He's on the wrong side of 30, but he's done a lot more in his career than Vele, and he's certainly done more than Skyy Moore. It's not even a question. There's no doubt this guy can have a meaningful role in a good offense. His deep threat skills are meaningful. So look at a team like the Minnesota Vikings that we know is looking for a receiver. The Vikings need a receiver. They know they're not going to have Addison for the start of the season. There was a little bit of a scare with Justin Jefferson. Seems like he's okay, but the Vikings need some help at receiver. Could a guy like MVS get them to give up a little something? I'm not talking about a big something. It might be like a 6th-round pick. It might be the same kind of thing we were hoping with Noah Fant. Didn't happen with Noah Fant. Maybe the circumstances will allow it to happen for a guy like Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And if you could, would you? Generally speaking, I am very, very against trading a player that is decent, that we know is decent, that has some value, for a pick that has some very small 8% to 10% chance of turning into a good player. I do not support that, especially in a year where you are trying to do stuff. You are trying to go win. You are trying to go win the division, make the playoffs, win playoff games, maybe announce yourself as a contender, whatever. Point I'm trying to make is that I am not into throwing away good players for lottery tickets. Like when people talk about trading Ken Walker, I immediately just kind of get confused. We know Ken Walker is a good player. Yes, he's a flawed player. Yes, there are problems. Yes, this is the last year of his deal. He has a good chance of not being here next year. But he can help us win games, and he can do good things for us right now. You're not going to get anything for him. Some people say, well, a 6th-round pick for K9, that should be good enough. In what universe? Like I don't get that. And I talked about Ken Walker in the video earlier today. So I'm not going to continue to talk about Ken Walker in another video, but I don't get behind that stuff. I don't want lottery ticket picks for players that I know are good. But if circumstance has it that this good player, and MVS is maybe good is a little bit strong, but he's a decent player. If circumstance has it that there's just nothing for him to do, then he doesn't want to be here either. I'm sure he doesn't want to be here just to sit on the bench and play garbage time snaps or just hope somebody gets hurt. So you do right by him. You get a little something for him. If you truly believe you're not going to get anything out of him this year, then yeah, you would rather have the 6th-round pick. This isn't a Ken Walker situation. Even if Ken Walker misses a lot of time this year, you know you're getting a good running back for the games he does play. You know you're getting somebody that fits this scheme well. Not so much the case with this guy. You don't know what you're getting here. You might be getting a guy who catches 8 passes in the regular season. And yeah, a 6th-round pick would probably be better than that. But again, the question is, do you have a role for him? Do you look at MVS and go, oh, we know he's going to play 25 snaps a game. He's going to be a deep threat, and it's going to be valuable. Or is it what it looks like, which is the Seahawks have kind of left this guy behind? Let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys soon. Go Hawks. I think there could be something here, and somebody is going to give up something for him. Like I said, the Vikings, they might be willing to give up a 6th-round pick for a guy like MVS.